French chef, best-selling author, award-winning host of Parts Unknown, and our friend, Anthony Bourdain has...
Shocking new details came to light about why Anthony Bourdain took his own life. Behind the fame, the adventure, and the love for food was a man haunted by battles few ever saw. His struggle with addiction, depression, and the dark side of the kitchen world ran deeper than anyone imagined. These fresh revelations paint a heartbreaking picture of a man who gave so much to the world, but was slowly crumbling inside. Let us dive into the painful truth about what really pushed Bourdain to his tragic end. The making of Chef Anthony Bourdain. His story started in New York City, where he was born on June the 25th, 1956. He didn't come from a famous or wealthy family, but his life turned out to be anything but ordinary. He grew up in Leonia, New Jersey, raised by his father, Pierre, a music executive, and his mother, Gladys, who worked as a journalist at the New York Times. Even from a young age, he was surrounded by culture and curiosity, which helped shape the amazing life he would go on to live. Even as a kid, he walked through halls where important people made big decisions, not knowing he was part of a huge secret that would one day change everything. One of the biggest influences in his early life was his connection to France. His father's family was French, and his grandparents had moved to the United States after World War II. He often talked about how thinking about death for just a few minutes each day helped him see life in a clearer way. As a kid, he spent summers in France, where he got to try all kinds of European foods. One of the most important moments for him happened during one of these summers, when he tried an oyster for the first time. It wasn't just about tasting something new. This experience sparked a lifelong love for food and travel. But this wasn't the toughest part of his journey. Like many people, he had his share of struggles. As a teenager, he went through a rebellious phase and got involved with drugs, which became a dark period in his life. This difficult time might have taken him off course, but it also gave him a deep understanding of the world that he later shared through his cooking and storytelling. After overcoming these challenges, he started to focus on his dream of becoming a chef. He attended the Culinary Institute of America, where he graduated in 1978. This wasn't just about learning how to cook. It was about fully embracing the world of food. He once said that if it weren't for his first culinary experiences in Provincetown, his life might have taken a very different turn. His time at the Culinary Institute was more than just learning recipes. It was where he truly began his journey in the kitchen, starting from the bottom and working his way up. He began by washing dishes, working long hours in various kitchens, and slowly moving up the ranks. These early years were tough, filled with hard work and stress, but they played a huge role in shaping who he became as both a chef and a person. But this wasn't the end of his story either. It was during these early years that he also began writing about his experiences. He started blending his love for cooking with his gift for storytelling, which eventually led him to become not only a famous chef, but also a voice that connected food and culture. His unique perspective touched people around the world, showing that being a chef is about much more than just food. It's about the journey, the people, and the stories behind every dish. But his path to success in the culinary world wasn't easy. Behind his rise in the industry was a personal battle that was difficult and at times dark. His journey was complicated, much like the complex dishes he created. Early in his career, he struggled with addiction. But that wasn't the worst part. His story is also one of change and recovery. He often said that his love for cooking played a huge role in helping him overcome his addiction. For him, cooking wasn't just a job, it became his way to heal. The kitchen became a safe place where he could focus his energy and passion positively. Amidst all the chaos in his personal life, cooking gave him a sense of control and an outlet for his creativity. What made him truly special was how real he was. He didn't pretend to be perfect, and that made people connect with him. He was a chef who had faced deep struggles, but could still find beauty in the world. His ability to talk about both the good and the bad in life is what set him apart. His battle with addiction deeply affected how he saw the world and food. It shaped his honest and raw view of the culinary industry, showing the parts of kitchen life that most people didn't want to see. But that rawness was what made him so relatable and admired. Next, we dive into how Anthony used his own challenges to help others in the tough world of cooking. championing mental health in the gastronomic trenches. If he had chosen to become a chef from the start, things might have gone very differently, and not for the better. He knew this well, and this awareness gave him an advantage. It allowed him to connect with all sorts of people, from top food critics to everyday diners. As he moved on from his troubled past, he started using his experiences to speak up for better working conditions in the restaurant industry. He openly talked about the need to focus on mental health in the food world, sharing his own battles with addiction and recovery to back up his points. This made him a strong voice for the often unseen side of working in professional kitchens. But even with his successes, he could never fully escape his past. The thrill of living on the edge, the feeling of walking the line between chaos and control, stayed with him. You could see it in his TV shows, his books, and his public talks. He was always the chef who had been through tough times and came out not only standing, but with a greater understanding and toughness. But this was where his real love for cooking grew. He wasn't just washing dishes or chopping vegetables. He was diving into the kitchen culture, learning the unspoken rules of the culinary world, and getting better with every day. From these humble beginnings, he slowly moved up the ranks. He worked in one kitchen after another, each time gaining more responsibilities and facing bigger challenges. Along the way, he picked up new techniques, flavors, and ideas from the chefs he worked with, each experience shaping his skills even more. But that wasn't the hardest part. A turning point in his career came when he became the head chef at Brasserie Les Halles in Manhattan. It was here that his unique cooking style started to stand out. Les Halles was a lively French bistro, and as the executive chef, he had to run a fast-paced, high-pressure kitchen. He tackled this with his usual mix of humor and hard work, turning Les Halles into more than just a restaurant. It became a culinary landmark known for its simple, delicious dishes that showcased traditional French bistro cooking. However, his time at Les Halles wasn't just another job. It was a period of real growth, both personally and professionally. He wasn't just making food, he was experimenting and pushing his culinary limits. Here, he began to blend his French roots with his experiences in New York's rough kitchen scene, creating a style that was bold, rustic, and unpretentious. What set him apart wasn't just his cooking skills, but also his natural ability to connect with people. His rise in the food world wasn't just about great food, it was also about the way he could make people feel connected to the food and to him. He wasn't just admired in the kitchen, he was respected by his peers and those in the food world for being direct and committed. He had a reputation for being a tough but fair chef. He always asked for the best from his staff, but also gave them chances to learn and grow. As his fame grew, so did his opportunities to show his talents outside the kitchen. His first big break in writing came with the book Kitchen Confidential. This book not only put him in the spotlight, but also gave the food industry a new level of attention. It was an honest look at the challenges and victories inside a kitchen, and it showed him not just as a chef, but also as a talented writer and storyteller. Kitchen Confidential was more than just his personal story. It became a book that chefs and food lovers connected with deeply. His way of telling stories, his honesty, and his passion changed how people thought about chefs in the food world. He became more than a chef. He became a voice for the industry, shining a light on people behind the scenes and bringing the worlds of fancy dining and everyday meals closer together. His climb to fame showed his many talents. He wasn't just a chef, he was a writer, an adventurer, and above all, a storyteller. His journey from the hidden parts of the kitchen to becoming a big cultural figure was driven by his pursuit of perfection and his desire to share his unfiltered view of the world. His story, full of ups and downs, mirrored his own complex and fascinating life. But his move into writing was just as important as his time in the kitchen. Writing wasn't just something he did, it was a reflection of who he was. He used his books to share honest opinions and tell stories not only about cooking, but about life. Like his food, his writing was full of humor, honesty, and a bit of rebellion. His writing career really took off with Kitchen Confidential, Adventures in the Culinary Underbelly, which came out in 2000. The book was a game changer for the food world. It gave a raw look into the chaotic, often hidden world of professional kitchens. With his straightforward style, he shared the highs and lows of his journey, from his humble beginnings to becoming a famous chef. The book reached a wide audience and turned him into a cultural icon. His blunt honesty and ability to explain complex experiences in a simple, relatable way made people love him. But that was just the start. But this wasn't the biggest moment of his career. Now let's see how Anthony mixed his love for writing with his passion for cooking, creating stories as rich as his dishes, blending crime novels and culinary artistry. Like great cooking, his success was all about timing, tone, and delivery. He didn't stop with just one book. His writing grew to include other important works, all marked by his unique voice. In A Cook's Tour, In Search of the Perfect Meal, he took his readers on a journey around the world, searching for authentic experiences and one-of-a-kind flavors. But the book wasn't just a series of travel stories. It was a deeper look at how he used food to connect with different cultures and people, showing how much he valued the way food brings people together. But even that wasn't the most surprising part of his impact. He didn't just stick to writing nonfiction. He also explored fiction with novels like Bone in the Throat and Gone Bamboo. While these books aren't as famous as his nonfiction works, they still show his talent for storytelling and his wide range of interests. His novels often mixed cooking with the world of crime, which reflected his varied life experiences. Another important book was Medium Raw, A Bloody Valentine to the World of Food and the People Who Cook, which was a follow-up to Kitchen Confidential. In Medium Raw, he revisited the food world, but this time from the perspective of someone older and more experienced. He looked at how the food industry had changed, how he had grown, and how his tastes had evolved over time. But that wasn't even the most impressive part of his career. As a writer, he changed the way people saw chefs in the food industry. He showed both the glamorous and tough sides of working in a kitchen. He also gave a voice to the people who often go unnoticed, the line cooks, dishwashers, and prep staff, helping to raise the profile of the entire profession. Through his writing, he taught people that food wasn't just something to eat, but a way to connect with different cultures. He often highlighted foods and cooking traditions that weren't well known, inspiring his readers to try new things and learn about other cultures through food. Then his journey took an interesting turn from chef and writer to TV personality. This wasn't just a job change. It was a big cultural moment. His move to television brought his unique perspective on food and culture to people all over the world. It started with A Cook's Tour, based on one of his books, where he traveled the world exploring different foods and cultures. What made the show stand out wasn't just the food, but the way he truly engaged with the people and cultures he encountered. He didn't just taste food, he immersed himself in the experiences, often stepping far outside his comfort zone. The TV show No Reservations grabbed the attention of many viewers for years, offering a deep dive into cooking styles from around the world while giving a look into different cultures. He, the host, led the show with a free-flowing and natural style, which often took him on surprising adventures. Whether he was eating in a remote village or a high-end restaurant, he had a special way of connecting with people. His ability to highlight the personal stories behind the food made the show not only fun to watch, but also quite educational. But what really made No Reservations stand out was how it was more than just a typical food and travel show. He used it as a platform to tackle deeper issues like cultural stereotypes, social problems, and even political topics. He didn't shy away from tough subjects such as poverty, war, and cultural conflicts. His thoughtful approach made the show feel deeper than most travel programs out there. His final and perhaps most important TV series was Parts Unknown, which aired on CNN. This show took him to even more remote and less visited places. He didn't just focus on the food, but also on the history, politics, and social issues of each location. Parts Unknown showed just how much he had grown as a storyteller and thinker. The show received high praise and won several awards, proving his status as a major figure in both the food and cultural worlds. But this wasn't even the biggest part of his influence. Beyond the TV screen, he had a way of making different cultures and foods feel accessible and relatable to a wide audience. He inspired viewers to see food and travel in a new light, emphasizing not just the variety of foods, but also the diversity of people and their stories. His shows acted like a bridge between cultures, helping to break down barriers and promote a sense of global unity. His impact also left a mark on the places he visited. By highlighting lesser-known cuisines and cultures, he often boosted local tourism and brought attention to these regions. This Bourdain effect lasted long after the cameras stopped rolling, showing that he wasn't just a guest in these places, but played a role in their recognition and growth. But that wasn't the end of his reach. His shows also had a huge effect on the food industry. He gave chefs and food professionals a space to tell their stories and share their craft. He celebrated the diversity and depth of the culinary world, inspiring a new generation of chefs and food lovers. His shows weren't just about cooking tips. They were about the heart and soul of food, teaching viewers about the passion behind the dishes. What's more, his journey wasn't just about the places he visited. It was also a personal one. With each episode, with each destination, he grew, not only as a host, but also as a person. His shows reflected his own self-discovery. He shared his thoughts, emotions, and vulnerabilities, which created a bond with viewers that went beyond the television screen. His untraditional approach to food was shaped by his experiences and the many cultures he encountered. Tony had a strong belief in keeping cooking real and simple. For him, the heart of any dish came from being true to the culture it came from. He wasn't just a chef or someone who reviewed food. He was someone who traveled the world to learn about different food cultures. Tony wanted to understand and celebrate the history, customs, and stories behind each meal he tasted. And it wasn't just about fancy restaurants for him. He found joy and beauty in street food and home-cooked meals. Tony's travels were fueled by a deep curiosity and a desire to connect with people through food. He believed that food was a universal language that could bring people together, no matter where they were from. Whether it was a simple bowl of pho in Vietnam, sushi in Tokyo, or a tagine in Morocco, Tony fully immersed himself in these experiences. He loved talking to local chefs, street vendors, and even the people eating the food, always wanting to learn about their lives, their ingredients, and their way of cooking. One of Tony's big contributions was shining a light on lesser-known cuisines. He often brought attention to food cultures that were overlooked by the mainstream culinary world. By doing this, he didn't just introduce new dishes to people around the globe, he also honored the people behind them, recognizing their efforts and stories. Tony was also on a mission to understand the struggles, joys, and everyday lives of the people making these dishes. For him, exploring food was a way to explore human experiences. He had a knack for drawing out personal stories from the people he met and connecting their life experiences to the food they made. Tony knew that food wasn't just about taste. It also reflected the history, politics, and culture of a place. And through his TV shows, he dug into these important topics. Did Anthony Bourdain change the culinary world more through his cooking or his storytelling? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more intriguing content.